In the cold silence of deep space, Commander Aaron Miles sat alone inside his small listening station, orbiting a dying star. For 7 years, he had listened to nothing but static. His job was simple: catch a signal, any signal. But the universe had remained quiet, stubbornly quiet. Humanity had spread across the stars, building colonies and stations, but Aaron had been assigned here, at the far edge of known space, to watch the void. The station was called Outpost K-47, a forgotten place meant to monitor cosmic radio waves. To most people, it was a boring job. To Aaron, it was everything. He adjusted his headset and leaned closer to the console. The green lights blinked softly across the control board. The hum of the life support system was the only companion he had left. The coffee in his metal cup had gone cold, but he didn't care. Every day, every hour, he hoped for a change in the sound, the endless hiss of nothingness. He had become used to talking to himself. "Another day," he muttered. Another silence. The stars outside the viewing window shimmered faintly like 1,000 frozen candles. Aaron often wondered if something was looking back at him. Humanity's signals had been echoing through the void for centuries, but so far no one had answered. Until now. At first it was faint. A pulse buried deep within the static. His tired eyes widened. He turned a dial, slowly isolating the strange rhythm. It wasn't random. It was organized, structured. He ran a quick analysis. The computer beeped and printed a line of code on the screen. Signal detected. Source unknown. Aaron felt his pulse quicken. "Finally," he whispered. He double-checked the coordinates. The signal came from beyond the Ort boundary, farther than any human colony. It was weak but steady, like a heartbeat in the dark. He activated the recording system and leaned back in disbelief. "After all these years," he said softly, "someone's out there." He sent the data packet to the central network, but the transmission delay would take weeks to reach command. Until then, it was just him and the signal. Aaron started decoding it manually. The pattern repeated every 20 seconds. It wasn't human Morse, it wasn't machine code either. Something about it felt alive. He replayed the sound again and again. The pitch seemed to change slightly each time, almost as if responding to him. He hesitated, then smiled. "You're listening, aren't you?" The station lights dimmed as power shifted to data processing. Numbers filled the holographic screen. He scribbled notes on his pad, marking frequency shifts and modulation. The more he studied, the more he realized the signal wasn't random. It was trying to communicate. Hours passed. Then days. Aaron stopped sleeping. His eyes turned red from fatigue, but his excitement grew stronger with every decoding attempt. On the 4th day, the signal changed. It formed a new rhythm. 3 short pulses, 2 long, then silence. Then again 3 short, 2 long silence. He typed the pattern into his analyzer. The computer processed it and displayed one word on the screen. "Hello." Aaron froze. His breath caught in his throat. He checked and rechecked, thinking it must be an error. But the machine was certain. It had converted the signal into a recognizable word. "Hello." He laughed quietly. No way, no way. For the first time in years, he felt alive. He tapped on the console and transmitted a short reply on the same frequency. "Hello. Who are you?" He waited. Minutes turned into hours. Then, just before he lost hope, the signal returned. Stronger this time. It wasn't words now. It was sound. A series of strange tones that formed a melody unlike anything human ears had ever heard. It was haunting yet beautiful. It carried emotion, a feeling of curiosity. Aaron leaned closer. "You're not human, are you?" The melody stopped. Silence filled the cabin. Then one final pulse came through. "No." Aaron's heart pounded. He had done it. He had found another intelligence. Not human, not machine, something else. He immediately started recording everything. He wrote notes for the report that would change history. But as he worked, something strange happened. The station lights flickered. The computers began to glitch. Static filled the audio feed. Then the signal grew louder, so loud that the speakers distorted. Aaron winced and lowered the volume. The message repeated again and again. The same tones, the same rhythm. But now hidden inside the signal was another faint sound, like whispers. He tried to isolate it. It wasn't data. It was a voice. He amplified it and froze. The voice was soft, almost human, speaking a language he didn't understand. It felt ancient, filled with sorrow. He spoke into the microphone again. "I don't understand you. Can you repeat?" The voice grew louder. The lights dimmed further. Then a warning appeared on his screen. "System interference detected." Aaron's console sparked. He quickly cut the transmission line and the noise stopped. The silence returned, heavier than before. For a long moment he just sat there, staring at the blank monitor. He had wanted to find life. Now he wasn't sure if that was a good idea. He looked out at the stars again. They seemed colder, more distant. Later that night, as he prepared to rest, the signal returned one last time. But this time it wasn't just on his console. It played through the entire station. Every screen flickered. Every speaker hummed with that strange melody, and then among the noise a clear voice, gentle, calm, spoke in perfect English. "We have been waiting for you." Aaron froze. What? But before he could respond, the entire station went dark. The silence of space swallowed everything again. The silence after the blackout felt endless. Commander Aaron Miles sat in total darkness, his heart racing. The station's hum had stopped, and even the low vibration of the engines was gone. Only the faint glow of emergency lights painted his control room in dull red. He tapped his wrist console. "System reboot now." Nothing happened. A few seconds later, a single word appeared on his wrist screen. "Wait." Aaron stared at it, unsure if it came from his system or... The signal, he tried again. Station respond, no reply. Only the blinking word, "Wait." He stood slowly, the silence pressing against his ears. The outpost had been built to survive almost anything. Solar flares, radiation storms, asteroid impacts. But this was different. This wasn't a power failure. It felt like the station itself was listening. Aaron walked to the main console and tapped the manual restart switch. Sparks flared from the screen, but then the lights flickered back to life. Finally, he sighed in relief. The systems returned one by one: power, life support, and navigation. But when the communication board lit up, he saw the signal was still there, stronger than before. The computer labeled it automatically. External source, unknown. The same soft melody began to play again. Aaron hesitated, then slowly sat down and put on his headset. "I don't know who you are," he said carefully, "but you have my attention." The melody stopped. Then the voice returned, and soft, calm, and completely clear. "We are here." Aaron's hand trembled slightly. Where are you exactly?" "Around you." He looked out the viewing window. Space looked empty, black, and endless. The dying star still glowed faintly in the distance, but nothing else moved. No ships, no debris. "No sign of life. I can't see you," he said quietly. "You will." Then the signal cut off. Aaron leaned back, heart pounding. Every logical thought told him it was some kind of interference. Maybe a reflection, a data echo, or even a prank. But deep inside he knew it wasn't. The voice had emotion, real feeling. He decided to start a visual scan. The external cameras rotated around the station. For minutes nothing appeared, just the usual emptiness. Then one camera caught something faint, a shimmer in the dark, like a ripple of light moving through space. He zoomed in. The shimmer grew brighter, forming a strange geometric shape, a triangle that slowly unfolded into circles, patterns and lines that changed like living symbols. It wasn't solid. It looked like light made of thought. "Impossible," Aaron whispered. The scanner tried to measure it, but every attempt returned the same error. Unknown energy form. He stared at it for a long time. Then, almost as if reacting to his gaze, the shape pulsed once and vanished. Aaron sat in silence. Then a new message appeared on his console. "Do not fear. We are curious." He took a deep breath. Curious about what? No response. Aaron felt a strange mix of fear and wonder. Humanity had always wanted to meet another intelligent life form. Now it was happening, to him, and it didn't feel like he had imagined. He spent hours analyzing every byte of the signal. The patterns inside it looked mathematical, even artistic. It was like someone had woven emotion into frequency. He realized it wasn't just communication. It was expression, a kind of music mixed with meaning. As time passed, he started talking to the signal. It didn't always reply, but when it did, it used short, careful sentences, almost like it was learning from him. "Aaron, why did you contact me?" Signal. Because you listen, Aaron. What are you? Signal. Not as you are. We are thought. We travel on energy, Aaron. How long have you been there? Signal. Before your first light. Before you dreamed of the stars. Aaron leaned back in his chair. The words gave him chills. Whoever or whatever this was, it wasn't just another civilization. It was something ancient, something that existed beyond the limits of matter. Why me? He whispered. Signal. You hear the silence. Most do not. The response made him pause. Maybe that was true. Most people on Earth had stopped listening. Humanity had grown proud, loud, and busy with its colonies. But Aaron, he had spent years waiting in quiet isolation. Maybe that's what made him different. Days passed. The signal became a companion. Aaron began to forget how long he had been talking to it. He shared stories about Earth, about the oceans, the smell of rain, the laughter of crowds. The signal listened. Sometimes it answered in gentle tones that almost felt comforting. But one night, everything changed again. As Aaron recorded his daily logs, the external sensors detected movement. Several small objects approaching the station at high speed. The computer marked them as unknown. Could it be debris? He muttered. But the readings didn't match. The objects were moving in formation. He activated defense scanners, but they couldn't identify the incoming shapes. Then the main console flashed a warning. Contact inbound. The signal interrupted his system, overriding the alert with a message. Do not harm them. They are us. Aaron stared at the message. They're you? He switched to external view. The objects stopped near the station. They weren't ships, at least not in any human sense. They looked like floating orbs of light, shimmering softly like living stars. Each one emitted the same energy pattern as the signal. Then one of them moved closer. Aaron felt his breath catch. The orb stopped just meters from the viewing glass. Its surface shifted, showing faint images, stars, galaxies, and strange landscapes that defied physics. He felt dizzy, like the images were passing directly into his mind. A soft voice echoed inside his head. Not through the speakers, but directly in his thoughts. Now you see us, he gripped the edge of his console. What do you want from me? To understand what you are. The lights around the room dimmed again as if the energy from the orbs was blending with the station itself. Data screens flashed uncontrollably. Then one of them displayed something unexpected. His own memories. His home, his friends, the academy, his first space launch. The images scrolled like a film. You're reading my mind, he said, trembling. We do not take. We only look. You are bright. Aaron felt something strange. Not fear, but an overwhelming sadness coming from the beings. It wasn't threatening. It was almost like they were lonely, too. He took a deep breath. You said you've been here before us. Why didn't you talk earlier? Because you were not ready. You spoke in noise, but you waited. The lights slowly faded and the orbs drifted back into the dark. Wait, Aaron called out. Don't go. But the signal only replied once more before disappearing completely. We will return when the stars change. Then everything went quiet. Aaron sat in silence again, surrounded by the low hum of his machines. He didn't know if he had just witnessed the first contact in human history, or a dream shaped by loneliness. But when he looked at his console one last time, a small symbol remained glowing faintly on the screen, the same triangle and circle pattern he had seen outside. And next to it, a single message, remember the silence. The silence after the contact felt heavier than ever before. Commander Aaron Miles couldn't sleep. The image of those glowing orbs and the sound of that calm alien voice replayed endlessly in his mind. The message they had left, remember the silence, echoed through his thoughts like a haunting melody. He had tried to contact them again. He sent hundreds of pings, short greetings, even music from Earth, but there was no answer. The signal that had once filled the station with sound and light was gone, as if it had never existed. Outpost K-47 floated quietly above the dim star, its hull reflecting the faint glow of dying light. The only sound was the soft hum of machines working tirelessly. Aaron sat at his desk, reading the data logs from the last encounter. The energy readings were unlike anything human science had ever recorded. He saved them all into a separate drive, marking it for command eyes only. But deep down, he knew no one would truly understand what he had seen. He rubbed his eyes and whispered, "They said they'd return when the stars change. What does that even mean?" He stood and walked to the viewing window. The same dark space stretched endlessly before him. The stars were distant, cold, and unmoving. Yet he couldn't shake the feeling that something unseen was still watching. Hours passed. Days turned into weeks. Aaron's routine returned. Data collection, maintenance, and regular check-ins with the central network. But nothing felt the same anymore. Every small fluctuation in the signal logs made his heart race, hoping it was them. Then one morning, as he sipped his bitter black coffee, the console beeped softly. A minor alert. Nothing unusual, or so he thought. But when he looked closer, his hands froze. It was the same frequency. The signal had returned. It was faint, unstable, but definitely the same. He leaned forward, adjusting the gain. The pattern was slightly different this time. Longer pauses, deeper tones, and a rhythmic pulse that reminded him of a heartbeat. Aaron smiled weakly. "You came back." The computer began translating the signal again. Lines of data scrolled down the screen, slowly forming words. "You still listen?" Aaron exhaled sharply, almost laughing. "Of course I do. You told me to remember the silence." "I did." There was a pause. Then the reply appeared. "We remember too." A strange warmth filled his chest. It felt like reconnecting with an old friend. He decided to record this entire exchange. "You said before that you travel on energy," Aaron said softly. "Does that mean you're not made of matter like us?" The signal took longer to respond this time. The static stretched until Aaron thought the conversation was over. Then slowly the translation came through. "We are thought. We are light when needed. We move where minds reach," Aaron tried to understand. "You mean, you travel through thought?" "Through what you call consciousness," he frowned. "That's not possible. It is not for you yet. But you will learn." "Your kind grows fast," Aaron sat back, stunned. "You've been watching humanity?" "Always. You are loud. You fill the dark with your signals. But few among you listen back." He swallowed hard. "And what do you think of us?" The answer came gently. "You are both fragile and strong. You fear what you do not see, yet you reach for it anyway. That is why you are different." Aaron's eyes softened. "Different? How?" "Others we met before you burned their stars. They vanished. But you still hope." He went silent. The words hit him deeply. So they had met others before humanity. Civilizations that no longer existed. A chill ran through him as he imagined entire worlds gone, their voices lost in the endless dark. Aaron spoke quietly. "Is that why you came back? Because you don't want us to disappear too?" "Because we remember loss. We do not want to remember it again." A long silence followed. Outside the window, the dying star flickered faintly like it was listening too. Then something unexpected happened. The lights in the station dimmed again, but this time it wasn't frightening. It felt calm. A soft glow began to fill the room, forming the same geometric symbols as before. Circles, triangles, and flowing lines. They hovered in the air like holograms. But Aaron's scanner showed no source. He whispered, "You're here again," the voice answered softly through the intercom. "Only part of us. The rest is far away." Aaron stood slowly. "Can you show me?" "Look beyond what you see." Before he could respond, the symbols began to move. They swirled and joined together, forming a single bright sphere that floated in front of him. The sphere pulsed gently, and images began to appear inside it. Not physical pictures, but visions made of light. He saw stars being born, galaxies forming, and then collapsing into darkness. He saw civilizations, strange beings building worlds, cities glowing with energy, and then fading away. Each vision ended in silence. Then he saw Earth, blue and alive, human cities glowing beneath clouds. Voices filled the air, laughter, music, arguments, all blending into a single human heartbeat. Aaron felt tears in his eyes. "That's us. You are light too," the voice said. "But you forget it when you fight your own kind." He didn't answer. He just watched as the sphere dimmed again, leaving only the dark room behind. After a long moment, Aaron asked, "What do you want me to do?" "Remember. Tell them." "Tell who?" "Those who will listen." The light slowly brightened again. The signal began to fade. "Wait!" Aaron shouted. "Please don't go yet. There's so much more I need to ask." But the voice only whispered one last message. "We are near the edge of your knowing. When you reach further, we will meet again. and then they were gone. The station returned to silence. Aaron sat back in his chair, exhausted and awestruck. He replayed the recording, but half the data was corrupted. The system couldn't handle the energy interference. Most of the visuals were gone, and the voice had turned into static. He stared at the single line of text that remained intact. "You still hope." Aaron saved the fragment and stared out at the stars. For the first time, he didn't feel alone. Somewhere out there, beyond the edge of what humanity understood, someone was waiting. He opened a new log entry. Log entry, Armor 723. Commander Aaron Miles, Outpost K-47, contact confirmed again. Non-human intelligence capable of energy-based existence and consciousness travel. They know us. They have seen others before us. Civilizations that are gone. Their message is simple. Remember, listen, and hope. He leaned back, smiling faintly. "I will," he whispered. The faint hum of the station continued. But this time it didn't sound lonely. And somewhere in that hum, hidden deep within the static, a soft whisper replied. Too faint for the machines to record, but clear enough for Aaron to hear. "We are still listening." Weeks had passed since the last contact. But Aaron Miles could not shake the feeling that something had changed in the void surrounding Outpost K-47. The station hummed quietly, its systems functioning normally. Yet every time Aaron ran a diagnostic, he noticed small anomalies, minor fluctuations in power, faint bursts of energy across the hull, and signals in the logs that seemed to appear and disappear without explanation. He tapped the console, checking the signal history. Lines of data appeared showing familiar patterns, the pulses, the melody, and occasionally, fragments of symbols. But there was something new, a shadow embedded within the signal. Aaron frowned. He isolated the pattern, zooming in on the fluctuating pulses. They weren't random. They were deliberate, precise, but darker in tone. "Not like before," he muttered. He called up the translation module. The system hesitated, struggling to interpret the energy signature. Then slowly words began to form. "You are close. We are near." Aaron's heart raced. "Near, what does that mean?" he whispered. The lights dimmed slightly and the station's temperature dropped. He wrapped his arms around himself. Something was approaching, he could feel it. Not physically, but energetically. He activated the external sensors. At first, they showed only empty space. Then far beyond the station, a faint ripple appeared. Like the shimmer of heat on a desert horizon, it moved closer, faster and faster. Aaron tapped his console. "Identify!" The system responded. "Unknown energy presence, non-matter." He swallowed hard. The orbs had returned. Not one, but dozens of them now, moving in a precise formation around the station. Each emitted a soft glow, pulsating with the same rhythm as the signal. Aaron's hands trembled as he adjusted the visual feed. The orbs were beautiful, mesmerizing, almost alive. Their movement was slow, deliberate, like dancers circling an invisible stage. Then one of them approached the main viewing window. Aaron held his breath. Its surface shimmered, and suddenly the symbols appeared again. Triangles, circles, flowing lines. But this time they moved faster, forming something entirely new. Aaron squinted. It was a shape he could not recognize, yet it seemed familiar in a strange, instinctive way. The signal spoke again, calm but with an edge he had not heard before. "You must understand the balance." "And balance?" Aaron asked. "What balance?" The orb pulsed and visions appeared inside it. Not images, but feelings. He felt a rush of memories, not his own, but from distant worlds. Civilizations rising and falling, stars collapsing into black holes, and life struggling to survive against impossible odds. Then the voice became urgent. "The universe holds many who forget. Power without care destroys. Silence alone sustains." Aaron's mind reeled. He was beginning to understand. The beings weren't just observers. They were guardians, perhaps even custodians of life across the stars. Their warnings were clear. Humanity had potential, but also danger. He steadied himself. "You mean, if we are careless, we could endanger ourselves?" "Yes, we cannot intervene directly. Only guide those who will listen." Aaron swallowed hard. He felt the weight of the message pressing down on him. This was bigger than humanity, bigger than his lonely outpost. He had to make sure the knowledge wasn't lost. The orbs began to move outward, forming a ring around the station. Then a new phenomenon occurred. A wave of energy flowed from them into the hull of Outpost K-47. Screens flickered, lights danced, and the station seemed to vibrate. Aaron felt the energy move through him, through every system he touched. Suddenly, he understood the rhythm. The signals weren't just communication. They were a form of teaching. The orbs were showing him patterns, the hidden connections between matter, energy, and life. It was a lesson in perception, awareness, and harmony with the universe. Aaron's pulse quickened as the realization struck him. The beings had not just returned to contact him. They were testing him, teaching him, preparing him to carry knowledge forward. But then the energy shifted. The once calm and beautiful patterns became sharper, jagged, and fast-moving. The station's sensors recorded unusual spikes in power. Aaron felt a sudden sense of urgency. "Danger approaches," the voice warned. Aaron's eyes widened. He looked at the sensors again. Far off beyond the orb's formation, a dark anomaly moved. A mass of energy that absorbed light, bending the space around it. It was unlike anything he had seen before. The orbs reacted immediately. They expanded outward, forming a protective barrier around the station. The energy flowed like a shield, shimmering and pulsating, pushing back against the approaching shadow. Aaron's voice shook as he spoke. "Are they protecting me?" "Yes," the voice confirmed. "But protection is temporary. You must understand the lessons. Only knowledge preserves life." The shadow loomed closer, massive and unnatural. It radiated a sense of emptiness that made Aaron's chest tighten. The station's alarms blared. Though he knew the danger wasn't physical, it was existential. Aaron focused on the orbs and the energy around him. The patterns were not random. He traced them with his fingers, copying their rhythm, feeling the pulse in his chest. Slowly, he began to grasp the meaning. It was balance. Every action, every thought, every choice carried energy. If humanity ignored it, the shadow could grow stronger, and the lessons of the universe would be forgotten. He spoke aloud, almost to himself. "I understand. I have to remember and share." The orbs pulsed brightly. The jagged movements of energy softened. The shadow slowed, then retreated, pulled back by the light and the balance Aaron had embraced. For a long moment, everything was quiet again. The orbs hovered around the station, their glow calm and steady. Then one of them approached the main viewport, pulsing gently, and a single message appeared on Aaron's console. "You are ready. Continue the hope. Guard the knowledge." Aaron's breath caught. He had felt fear, awe, and wonder, but also an overwhelming responsibility. He realized that humanity's survival, perhaps its growth, depended on listening, observing, and understanding the universe, not just conquering it. He whispered to the empty station, "I will not forget. I will tell them." The orbs slowly drifted away, vanishing into the dark expanse of space. The shadows receded, leaving only the quiet hum of Outpost K-47. Aaron sat back, exhausted but alive. He began documenting everything and every pattern, every pulse, every word. This was no longer a secret. If humanity were to survive, someone needed to understand the lessons he had learned. He glanced out at the stars. They were no longer just points of light in the dark. They were signals, potential, life waiting to be discovered, understood, and protected. Aaron smiled faintly, the weight of responsibility settling on his shoulders. He had found a signal, yes, but it wasn't human. And that signal had changed him forever. For the first time in years, he felt hope. Not the faint hope of lonely listening, but a living hope, one that pulsed with the heartbeat of the universe itself. And somewhere, beyond the edge of his vision, he felt the soft hum of the orbs returning, watching, guiding, and waiting for the moment humanity would reach further. Commander Aaron Miles sat at the console of Outpost K-47, staring at the logs he had been compiling for weeks. Every signal, every pulse, every shimmer of light had been recorded, analyzed, and catalogued. He could feel the weight of what he had discovered pressing against him, not in fear but in responsibility. Humanity had been given a glimpse of something greater, something beyond understanding, and it was now up to him to carry the message forward. Outside the viewing window, the stars shimmered faintly against the black void, but to Aaron they were no longer just distant points of light. They were beacons, each one a reminder of the infinite possibilities of life and intelligence in the universe. The signal had returned twice since the last encounter, each time shorter but clearer. The message was consistent: observe, understand, protect, hope. Aaron repeated the words quietly, letting them echo in his mind. Observe, understand, protect, hope. They were simple, yet they carried the weight of centuries of knowledge, experience, and wisdom. He leaned back, letting the calm hum of the station fill the room. For the first time in weeks, he allowed himself a moment of rest. Then a soft chime sounded from the console, a new incoming transmission. He leaned forward. The message was not human. It wasn't structured like anything he had encountered before. The energy readings were intense but precise, almost like the signal itself was alive. Aaron activated the translation module. Slowly, words began to form. You have learned. Now share. Aaron felt a surge of determination. Yes, he whispered. I will. He began compiling his report. Not just technical data, but the lessons he had learned from the signal, the orbs and the energy. He wrote of the pulse patterns, the melodies, and the visions. He described the shadow that had approached and the balance he had understood, the delicate harmony between life, energy, and the universe itself. He wrote of hope, of the responsibility humanity carried. And he wrote of patience, that listening, observing, and understanding were just as important as action. Days turned into nights, but on Outpost K-47 time felt different. Aaron didn't notice the passing hours, focused entirely on documenting every detail. He sent smaller fragments of the report to command, careful not to misinterpret the signal or lose the essence of what he had learned. Then, as he worked, the station lights dimmed again. The familiar shimmer returned, filling the room with soft geometric patterns. The symbols pulsed gently, inviting him to look closer. The orbs had returned. They hovered near the viewport, calm and deliberate. Aaron felt a warmth in his chest. You have learned balance, the signal said, calm and steady. You understand the light and the shadow. You are ready. Aaron nodded, unsure if they could see him. Ready for what? To carry hope. The energy around the orbs shifted and visions appeared once more. This time not distant civilizations, but humanity itself. Cities glowing under the sun, people creating art, building technology, exploring the stars. He saw children learning, scientists discovering, and explorers pushing further than anyone had before. This is your responsibility, the voice continued. Your kind has potential to shine brightly or fade quietly. The choice is yours. Aaron's hands tightened on the console. I will make sure they understand, he said softly. I will tell them what you have taught me. The orbs pulsed in agreement. Their light filled the station, gentle but powerful. For a moment, it felt like the entire universe was speaking directly to him, showing him the interconnectedness of all things: matter, energy, life, and consciousness. Aaron realized something profound. The signal was not just communication. It was a guide, a teacher, and he, in his quiet corner of space, had become its student. He stood and walked to the viewing window. The orbs drifted back into space, their glow fading slowly. But he felt their presence, their energy, and their guidance lingering. Aaron turned back to his console. He sent the final report to command, ensuring every fragment of his experience was preserved. He included diagrams, translations, and detailed explanations of the signals. Most importantly, he included the message of hope. Listen, understand, protect, hope. Humanity is capable of greatness, but only if it chooses to learn from the universe and guard the light it carries. As he finished, the station lights brightened, and for the first time in weeks, Aaron felt calm. He knew that the orbs had returned to their distant post, observing, guiding, and waiting for humanity to grow. Outside, the stars shone brighter in his eyes, no longer distant and cold, but full of life and possibility. Aaron felt a deep connection with them, as if he could sense the flow of energy across the cosmos. He sat back in his chair and smiled faintly. For years he had listened in silence, hoping for a signal. Now he had learned more than he ever imagined. And humanity had been given a chance to rise, to explore, and to carry the light of life into the dark corners of space. Aaron recorded a final note in his log. Log entry, 7735, Commander Aaron Miles, Outpost K-47. The signal is not human, yet it understands us. It has shown us balance, the connection between energy and life, and the responsibility of hope. Humanity must listen, understand, and protect. The universe is alive with intelligence. We are not alone, and we have the chance to shine brightly among the stars. I will not forget, and I will make sure humanity remembers. He leaned back, staring at the distant galaxies, imagining the worlds that might one day hear the human voice and choose hope over fear. Then, as if in answer to his thoughts, a faint shimmer appeared on the console. A last message, simple and clear. We will be near, always. Carry the light. Aaron exhaled, a deep sense of peace filling him. He had found a signal, one that was not human, and through it, he had discovered humanity's potential. For the first time in years, he felt that the loneliness of space had a purpose. He was no longer just a listener. He was a messenger, a guardian of knowledge, and a witness to the first true contact humanity had ever known. The station hummed quietly around him. Outside, the stars glimmered like distant lanterns, each one waiting for humanity to step forward. Aaron smiled and whispered to the empty room, "We are ready, and we will shine." And somewhere, far beyond the edge of known space, the orbs pulsed in reply, soft, calm, and full of promise. The universe was vast, silent, and waiting. But now humanity had a voice, and hope had found a place to grow.